Hey guys, I'm Amy Paffrath.
And I'm Justin Walter.
And this is What's Good, the show that's dedicated to positive, uplifting stories from all over the world.
Today we're talking about a man who has saved over 500 lives and a 100-year-old tortoise that has a crazy, healthy, intense sex drive.
That's some good news. It's all coming up right here on What's Good.
Amy, we have a lot of good news to talk about, so start us off.
All right, so I'm sure you saw this on my Facebook page because you stalk it constantly,
Always.
Right? So there's this woman, 87-year-old woman in the Netherlands, who got to ride a horse again after 30 years of not being able to ride a horse because she was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And they found a way, two organizations, and I don't want to mess these up, so I'm going to read them. Thanks to Hidden Desires, a project of two charities, the Care Group and the Green Cross, she was granted her wish of riding again. So they made this apparatus where she was able to kind of rest on the horses, and it was just such a moving, beautiful experience
The
to bring
joy
this.
she must have felt after over 30 years.
Yes.
To feel that experience again.
I know, and she grew up riding horses, so this was just a big part of her life. And when she was diagnosed with Parkinson's, obviously couldn't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So it was just a beautiful thing to see a dream like that realized. That was one of her last wishes, was to be able to ride again. So they made it possible.
They did. Very
Dream those
good.
dreams; they're going to come true.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to talk about this man. I might probably mispronounce it. Yukio Shige. How would you say that?
Yukio Shige.
Okay, that's better. So he's a Japanese man who is a retired detective. Now he has saved over 500 lives of people about to commit suicide in Japan. Now Japan in 2015 had over 24,000 people commit suicide.
They have the highest suicide rate in
Very
the world.
high rate. That's about 70 a day. And at the Tanjimbo Cliffs, I obviously don't know how to
You got
pronounce
it,
this.
Tanjimbo.
He is known as the gatekeeper, where he will see people and recognize warning signs of possibly going to commit suicide, and then he will talk to them and prevent them from committing suicide. Now, in Boston, I worked on a suicide hotline for a year, and the number one thing is giving compassionate listening. That is the number one thing, which I would have never guessed.
Right.
Is if someone is suicidal and has the signs, they just want love. They want to
just wanna be
feel
heard.
heard.
Yeah.
Listened
They don't
to.
want you to tell them all the things.
And it's not even judgmental. It's compassionate listening, just listening, not giving advice,
Yeah.
not telling them what to do. And it's incredible. He's saved so many lives, and there's so many more that people just kind of reading up on warning signs. And I recommend anybody check what the suicide warning signs are.
Yeah,
so
just
you
to
can
know when somebody
recognize
in your
that
life is exerting those,
if
then
that's
you can help.
someone in your life.
Well, what I love too is that he sits with binoculars and watches the cliffs, and if he sees somebody that might be suicidal, he and a team of 3 volunteers go and intervene.
It's an incredible
And
story.
he said one of the times the police were involved, and the woman ended up going through with it because they were saying the wrong things to her.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is so important. It is important to know the warning signs and to know how to be a listener and just be there for someone.
Asking questions and being a listener compared
Yeah.
to telling people what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So be there for someone in your life and just be a compassionate soul. Our next story, oh, this one's really great. A Baltimore school replaced detention with meditation, and the results were amazing. Since implementing the practice, there have been 0 suspensions.
Wow.
So now when a kid gets in trouble, instead of reprimanding them, they put them in quiet time. They do some yoga poses. They sit them
my
down
gosh.
quietly. They come back to class focused and on top of their work.
The question is detention rate going up because people want to go meditate and want to go do these
You
yoga
know, are they
poses?
acting out
If
because
you're
of it?
bored
They're
in
like,
class,
I'm
I'm
going to
going
do
to
some
act
yoga.
out and go to detention?
It seems like it's actually helping. Their GRE points have been raised 60 points since this started, cumulatively among the students in this school. So it really does seem to be creating calm, focused students. So it's really great. And instead of discipline, instead of disciplining the kids, it teaches the kids to work through their problems and cope with stress and frustration.
I like it.
I think that's
and we're
awesome.
going to learn more about meditation with our
Yes,
guests,
we are.
right?
Chandresh is coming later,
All
so
right.
stay tuned for that.
All right, so I have to talk to you about Diego, a 100-year-old tortoise from the Galapagos Island.
He's
Now,
got some swagger.
A very rare breed. Now, his breed and species was going to go extinct.
Near
in
extinction.
1970, there were only 2 male and 12 females in the Galapagos.
Wow.
So the San Diego Zoo actually in 1976 shipped Diego back, right?
He came to San Diego.
He was in San Diego at the zoo, and they shipped him back to the Galapagos because they knew he had a good sex drive and he needed to repopulate this species so it wouldn't go extinct. Well, guess
He
what?
was the man for the job.
Today, he has had over 800 offspring, and he has taken his rare species of tortoises off the endangered species list.
Wow, and now there's, what, over 2,000?
Over 2,000. This tortoise, Diego, at 100 years old,
Wow.
He's getting it on.
Oh my gosh.
Getting it on.
Well, speaking of healthy sex drives and elderly sexploits,
What?
it leads us into our 60-second silver lining.
Oh my gosh, all right.
So TMZ reported that emergency crews rushed to the Playboy Mansion thinking Hugh Hefner had died. Turns out he didn't die. He's alive and well. So this is going to be our setup.
So
for
you're
the joke.
comparing Hugh Hefner to Diego, the 100-year-old tortoise.
Yeah, I mean,
there we go.
Hugh
I
Hefner
like it.
doesn't have a ton of children,
like
but he
it.
is a nearly 100-year-old
He
man.
probably could have
with a
800
very
children.
healthy sex life. He probably could.
All right.
You want to put 60 seconds on the
Let's
clock?
do it. All
Let's
right,
do
here
it.
you go.
Here we go. So
Okay.
the bad news is Hugh Hefner had a death scare. But the good news is he's alive, well, and still rocking those PJs.
All right, well, the bad news is Hugh Hefner had a death scare. But the good news is he's still having movie nights with his third wife. Look at this Instagram. He posted that to say the tabloids don't know what they're talking about.
The bad news is Hugh Hefner had a death scare, but the good news is he's got plenty of little bunnies to snuggle up to.
Lots of bunnies. All right, the bad news is Hugh Hefner had a death scare, supposed death scare. The good news is he has a good sense of humor. Now look at this. He wrote, I wish tabloids had informed me a little earlier that I was sick because I might have canceled my weekend plans.
Oh, snap, Hugh Hefner.
Hugh.
The bad news is Hugh Hefner had a death scare, supposed. But the good news is, alive or dead, he's already in heaven.
Aww, and that's it.
That's it.
Our silver
We've exhausted our 60-second silver lining.
It's a tongue twister.
It's a tongue
for me.
twister. Coming up next, we have spiritual guru and author Chandresh Bhardwaj. Stay tuned. Well, we are so lucky to have the next guest on our show. He is a spiritual guru and now author. Please welcome Chandresh Bhardwaj.
Thank you.
Thank you for
An honor to
being
be
here.
here.
Thank you
I've
for
read this
coming.
book cover to cover. My husband read this book in 3 days, and he's not
Glad.
into meditation and all the spiritual stuff like I am. So that says a lot because this is a very accessible book. It's called Break the Norms.
Thank you.
What inspired you to write this?
So the idea was, burning in my mind, heart, and soul since I was in high school. I grew up in a family of spiritual teachers. I would, see a lot of people lining up to seek blessings of my grandpa, my father. And I was like, why the problems are not ending? There got to be something. I mean, they're meeting the gurus, they're, I guess, doing the work also, but the problems are not ending. And then I moved to US and I realized the problem in the Eastern world and the Western world is, one problem. People are not breaking their conditioned pattern. They're not breaking their norms. They're not ready to leave the old and embrace the new. And it was all my ideas I was writing since high school, literally, that kind of formed and shaped the book. It's all questions. I tried not to give the answers, but I tried to give the right questions.
So asking the right question, one thing I wonder is that ability something that's innate in people to do? Because I feel like I, in my life, try and ask these questions. Breaking through the norms. Amy does that as well. Do you find that people just can't do that, or they need someone to push them?
So I feel everyone is born with the potential, but as they grow up, they lose that, creativity. They lose that fearlessness, and then they forget to ask questions. It depends a lot.
They just go through the motions of what society wants them to do compared to living a life for themselves.
Yeah, society, media, parents, religion, friends. There's a lot of influence, in our mind from outer, environment. So they get influenced by that, and then they forgot to ask the right questions.
What are some of the right questions we should be asking ourselves?
I think, who am I? What do I want? Because what you want and what you need are two different things.
Very different.
So very important to ask, what do I want? What does my soul want? Who am I? Because you are not your labels. You're not Justin, you're not Amy, I'm not Chandresh. We are beyond our names, social identities. And what does my soul desire?
Yeah.
What can you do to nurture your soul? Just these few questions can change pretty much a lot.
And I think it's those questions that a lot of people don't ask themselves. I try and bring those type of questions up to family and friends, and I'm shocked at how many people don't ever spend time living in the moment trying to look at those issues.
I think people are scared of the answer.
Yes, they're
because
afraid.
they're so accustomed to the life they live. Answering those questions means making a change.
And it's not simple answers.
No.
It's not.
Question is simple, the answers are not.
So how
Answers are complex.
how do you guide people to trying to start even beginning to answer those questions? Because those answers can take months, years in the development
Lifetimes.
process.
Lifetimes,
Yeah.
exactly.
You see, I can only guide them. I always tell them it's their willingness to change that changes everything. If they're willing to change, if they're willing to peel off the layers, then they can arrive at the right answers. In my meditations, I tell them you got to meet yourself in your complete potential as you are. not as someone else want you to be. That means you got to be embracing your ego, anger, greed, desires. If you keep running away from these elements, you're running away from yourself. I've never met anyone who's without ego, anger, greed. No one is without these elements, but I've met people who are able to channel these elements to experience higher awareness. And I've met people, obviously, who are not able to channel these elements.
And get caught up in them.
We all know those people.
Right.
Yeah,
we do. In Hollywood, there's quite a few.
We know those
Well, that's what I
people.
love about you, Chandresh, is because you are a very spiritual man, but you also live in this modern world. You do not deny that there are going to be challenges, and there are things that we can be both in. We can have gadgets. We can be in this material world, but also be in the spiritual world. How did you find that balance in your own life?
I think I would give credit to my father. He's my teacher. I remember he was sitting in New Delhi with media people, and a lot of media people, were there, and they said, "We got to give you a different costume. You got to look spiritual. You got to put a robe, orange color robe, and wear
Like a monk."
Exactly, and wear a big bead. That's going to make you look spiritual. And I was a teenager, probably I think 12 or 13-year-old, and he said, "My son is sitting there, and he meditates every day, and probably in few years he may want to join this profession. But if I put on this show now, he's never going to join this, and I'm going to corrupt my son." And he said, "For him, I'm not going to do that. And if you see him, he dresses up like all of us."
Wow.
And I think I would give credit to him. I saw my father as a balanced family man. So that's what I think unconsciously or consciously picked up. And I think it was never an effort. It just happened. When you meditate on your own, you're practically just dealing with yourself, your silence, your stillness. A lot of people find it tough to do that because they don't have any guide. I always meditated on my own, but I didn't know there was guided meditation that exists. But when I moved to US, I realized a lot of people need that guided meditation. In guided meditation, what I pretty much do, so if I have to guide both of you, I know both of you, I know your energies, I know what are your challenges, your intentions, your goals. So I would guide you to lead into your emotions based on your own intention, specific intention and energy.
So we're going to do that, right?
Absolutely.
Actually, he does teach an amazing class every Tuesday night at the Den in Hollywood. So if you do want to go take one of Chandresh's classes, you can sit there and be absorbed by, he says the most wonderful, earth-shattering things that pierce your heart. It's like everything you need to hear.
You.
At least that's how I feel when I'm sitting in your meditation. It's been life-changing for me. I started meditating regularly earlier this year. It was one of my goals. My bucket list of 2016 was to have a regular meditation practice, and that's when I discovered the Den and discovered you, and we developed this friendship, and it's led me to so many amazing things. And I just feel like I'm unlocking as a human because I've put up all these walls as I'm the TV host, I'm this person. So I just give lots of credit to what you've taught me and led me, and more so than that, I just want to know, you come from this spiritual family. How was that growing up in that? And was that something you automatically felt drawn to? Did you ever reject that because it was such a lineage for you? I wonder if that was ever a struggle.
I never rejected because you reject something which you are forced upon, right? My father never forced his spirituality on me. In fact, he never asked me to meditate. That was never.
At what age did you start meditating?
I don't even know. I was very little. So my way to express anger was to meditate. I don't know how I picked that. Probably, growing up in India, you see a lot of spiritual documentaries, and I was surrounded by spiritual gurus. So if mom, dad, don't get me anything, I would lock myself in a room and I would meditate for hours.
Wow.
Yeah. And I almost burned our meditation room because I lit 5 incense sticks with 3 candles. I did. I burned the sheet and everything, and then I hit that.
You're sitting there in the calm and everything's blazing around you.
Yeah.
You were in the zone.
I burned the whole thing, and I tried to hide. And I thought no one, got to know that, but they all knew it. They just, didn't yell at me.
They didn't want to make you feel bad about it. Your intention was very good.
I guess so, right? So I was naturally obsessed with meditation and finding what's out there.
Yeah.
I was, driving here, and I was just wondering what exactly made me so curious about spirituality and meditation. I mean, that became my world, basically. I would interact more with the fathers of my friends than the friends themselves, because I would have really deep questions.
You're this wise little soul.
And deeper connection, and you're curious.
Exactly. And my grandma, Leela, she would get worried that he doesn't hang out with kids. He wants to hang out with people who are 30 years older than him, 40 years older than him. But that was just me. And I started asking the question to my father, can I experience divinity, godliness? And one of my father's friend, he teased me, he said, if you stay awake all night and meditate, in the morning, that godly energy will touch you, and it's going to make you, feel that divinity exists. And I did that. And then my father said, okay, you are going too deep and extreme, and you are still in 5th grade.
Oh my God.
And you got to take it easy. And because my teachers would call home and they would say...
You're falling asleep in class because you're up all night meditating?
No, they said he doesn't bring school books.
Oh.
He brings books of Tantra, meditation, and they said, we don't need those books here.
Oh my God.
So that was my obsession, and I'm so glad. I ended up being in a finance school, by the way, in New York City. I graduated in finance and accounting, but I found a way to channel my spiritual curiosity, and I, created Break the Norms out of it, a blog, Facebook page, book.
We're going to put you on the hot seat real quick. we're going to give you a few topics.
Okay.
Give us the question we should be asking about that topic.
Okay.
So, for example, love. What's the main question we should be asking about love in our life?
Okay, sounds good.
Oh, love.
Oh, love.
Go ahead, yeah.
Okay. Do I practice self-love?
Very
That's
important.
a good one. Self-love is so important. I think
It's
people
the
see that
first
as
step
being
to
selfish,
spirituality.
but
Yeah.
it's not
No.
at all.
If you don't truly love yourself, how can you love other people?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the first step toward experiencing higher consciousness. You
Yeah.
got to embrace and accept your own existence.
Right.
Ready? Sex.
Sex. Do you experience it as a sacred exchange of energy? Or is it just physical?
Sexuality.
Sexuality. That's man-made. Sex is natural. Sexuality is man-made.
Interesting.
Blowing your mind. Ego.
Asking these questions.
Ego's a big one.
Eliminating godliness out. Then the
Oh,
ego
right.
walks in.
EGO.
Yeah.
There we
When you
go.
eliminate your own divinity, then the ego walks in.
Religion.
Not needed. Yeah.
That one kind of blew my mind too. Growing up Catholic, my family is like.
I went to a Catholic school for 12
Yeah.
years. Yeah. So I grew up in a Hindu family, went to Catholic school for 12 years. I truly believe religion was not created with a wrong intention. It was created with honest intentions. But when it goes to wrong hands, it changes everything, you know. I mean, you can bake the sweetest, yummy cake right now, and you do that with good intention. But then Justin and me, we eat everything in 5 minutes. You know, we did not do the right thing with your good intention.
Or he rejects it because he's on this weird diet and won't eat my cake.
Or he throws it off.
Not on a weird
It's me
diet.
on the weird
just to say
diet, it's not
that.
you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Oh, I also want to know.
Oh, you got another question?
Yeah, because writing a book is a challenge,
Yeah.
and we like to talk about overcoming hurdles. What were some of the roadblocks you faced, and how did you push through when you hit something that was like, oh, it's getting difficult? I mean, you seem like a person that's like, I'll just meditate on it and I'll get through it. But practical problems that you had to overcome in order to push through and get this actually published on shelves.
I think, so the idea was within me for a long time. The first practical challenge that I faced when I first spoke with an agent, and he said, you're too young to publish a book. And that broke my heart because he was the first agent I spoke to. And I was literally heartbroken. I sat down and I was feeling that nervousness that such an important
might not
agent
happen.
rejected me, that
Yeah.
it might not happen. He said it's your first book, but not your most important book. So just, self-publish it. And then I had to, email him that I wrote the proposal. I took few months and I wrote the proposal for a publisher, not for a printing press. Then he re-looked at it. He didn't even look at the proposal, by the way, until then.
Wow.
He just,
Just the idea alone.
yeah. So he saw the proposal, he liked the proposal. And that was a major battle won. He loved the proposal.
Perseverance and just keep going at it.
Yeah, and after that, it was a challenging process, but it was my first book, so I truly absorbed the process as a student because my plan is to write more books. So I told myself, I'm not going to panic, I'm not going to throw tantrums, I'm just going to understand the process and just pour out whatever is out there.
And be patient
And be
learn.
patient.
Well, the book is fantastic. All of you should pick it up. Chandresh, where can they get this?
It's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and wherever books are sold.
In addition to the book, what else do you have offered?
So we have Break the Norms meditation app that's about to launch anytime this month.
Okay.
And I've recorded an online course for meditation. It's called
That's
Meditate
wonderful.
Anxiety Away.
Nice.
It's going to...
So you're doing what Deepak and Oprah are doing. A
uh,
little bit. We're going to do yours.
I love both of them.
We're going to do yours.
Well,
I'm
Deepak
excited.
is actually quoted on the back of this
Yes.
book, and His
He's very
Holiness,
kind to
the
do
Dalai Lama, wrote the foreword to this book. So you're in
Incredible.
very great company.
Yeah, they both blessed me, and I'm forever grateful to them.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Well, you're just such a kind,
Thank
loving
you.
light. And you guys, if you're ever in LA, please stop by the Den and check into one of his meditations because it really is a life-changing experience. You're there on
Thank you.
Tuesdays and Sundays.
Only Tuesdays.
Oh, Sunday's done.
6:30. Yeah.
Okay.
Tuesday. Yeah.
Tuesdays, 6:30. It's awesome.
One of our favorite things to do is share your good news. So, Amy, let's share some good news. I have Monica Leo. She said, started my new job today. Congratulations,
That's
Monica.
awesome.
Very
Yay for
excited
work.
you. And I know personally it has been a very big thing for her for starting this new
A
job.
struggle.
Congrats.
Yeah, we are happy to hear that. And you
Yeah.
know, this is one of my favorite things to do is post what's good in your world. And I love reading the responses. So I got one from Twitter, Jeff Garlick. My 15-year-old SUV was making banging noises, and I was expecting the repairs to be huge or have to replace it. Fixed for $75.
Good.
That is
catch.
good news because you
Good
know how
deal.
troubling mechanical problems can
I
be.
hate taking
It's
my
the
car
worst.
in. It's the worst. All
And you
right.
think you're gonna have to buy a new car and then $75 later? Yes, Jeff, we're proud
Good
of
job. Okay, Mary Baker, who lives in Wales, she said, on my way up to Orkney in search of ancient stones and the Northern Lights.
you. That's on my bucket list. The Northern Lights.
Me too.
Gotta see it.
Mary, we're going to get some advice from you.
We will.
It's going to happen.
And then finally, you're gonna love this one. Erica Manny. Kristen and I are backpacking Europe for the next month.
Whoa.
They are two fans of my husband's that I met years ago, and they become good friends of mine. They're adorable girls. They just graduated college. Like, go girls.
I
Go
love
see the
it.
world.
Well, if you've been inspired by sharing good news with us, you should do it to everyone in your life. It
Yeah.
definitely brings out some good energy, and if you
Creates
enjoyed
a
our
ripple
show,
effect.
share it away.
Please do. It's the best gift you can give anyone is a little positivity and some beautiful smiles. Bye. We'll see you guys next week. I just called our smiles beautiful.
Yeah, thanks.